Hello everyone and welcome to another Top 5 Records video. And today I'm going to be talking about a specific pressing. I'm also going to compare it. That's what I'm going to end that video off of. But there's one pressing in particular that in retrospect is essentially interesting. I am talking about the Mobile Fidelity one step of Michael Jackson's Thriller. About a little more than a year ago, MoFi thought they had their magical card in hands for a whole new audience. They bought the rights to Michael Jackson's Thriller and made an announcement that they would make their biggest MoFi release ever. I'm holding it here. Why was this their biggest MoFi release ever? Well, first of all, Thriller had its 40th anniversary, and this would be the big audiophile repress. And this is interesting because they announced 40,000 copies, and they initially even announced that Bernie Grundman would be doing the mastering, but that was a mistake, so they took that offline. So when it happened, people started to notice, well, what's going on here? But Bernie Grundman, he doesn't know if he's involved. So Bernie Grundman responded, "Yeah, I'm not involved. They didn't ask me." The usual mastering engineer, Krieg Wunderlich from MoFi, did the mastering, and he is one hell of a mastering engineer. So I mean, it's not Bernie Grundman, but you got another very good mastering engineer. Yet this led to some pretty serious investigation and a downfall in the value of MoFi's, which by now doesn't just seem a mere trend. I can see it all around. Friends of mine who are selling their one steps, especially to me, because if it sounds good, it sounds good. But I'll do some more explaining. What happened? Because they announced 40,000 copies, people start to wonder, how are they gonna get 40,000 copies in this one-step process? Because you'll need the master a lot for that one-step process, and are they going to give you the possibility to come as close to the master that often? I mean, the one-step process is special. There are other videos who will explain that, but how are you gonna do that? So basically that's what they asked, and then some YouTubers online said, yeah, MoFi might be using the master tapes, but they are not going directly from the master tapes. So they might have access to the analog master tapes, but the step does involve some digital. Now, that was a shock for a lot of people, and they started to feel how you say, hoaxed by Mobile Fidelity one step, though they never really said they made analog. They never said that there was not a digital step in the process, but they came out, we do go to the analog master tapes, but we just get this little amount of time there. So what do? We do a DSD 256. I'm not a digital expert. A copy of it, so there is no quality loss. That's what I claim. And then we start to do our magic. But this led to an incredible decline in one steps, because people. There's the idea that you need all analog processes. Now, I have some one steps, for example, the Mingus or the Marvin Gaye's What's Going On, which will probably have a digital step in them, but they are, to me, the ultimate versions of these albums. Yet, this does reflect a slight downfall. And now, 1 year later, I noticed that most of these MoFi's, yes, sometimes you can even see them being sold in stores for about €100 right now, while some were almost a double 1.5 years ago. And the announcement of the 40,000 copies of this record, which was an incredible amount, were because there was an incline in the demand of these audiophile products. Now, a year later, I am holding my very own copy of this album, and I'm wondering, was this record, was this pressing worth the risk MoFi took? Because this big announcement, it was a risk, and it led to something which I assume they're not very happy about. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna compare the MoFi One Step to this one, which is a European first press, originally engineered by Bernie Grundman, and this is a near mint copy. So it's near mint copy. What sounds better? And when I'm listening to these two, I find out a very different problem. This one sounds beautiful. I mean, this is the way most people actually experience this album, because the first pressing, you can find it in a lot of stores, and it's not very special. Finding a near mint one will be more difficult, but this is, I mean, buy 3 bags of crisps and you'll find the first Thriller pressing. This sounds good. This sounds pretty good, but I would have loved a 45 RPM pressing of it. Now, listen to this one. Do I hear a digital sound in the process? Not specifically, but I find it tough to compare this analog element with this digital step, at least a digital copy, for a very simple reason. MoFi did some smiley face EQing. I can hear when you put on, for example, Beat It. It is more impressive than this one in the beginning, because the highs are louder, so the high noises on the drums there, and the punch in there, it's it gets you, and it's really nice. I mean, you really get the hang of it. Then there's a beautiful bass. There's a very nice bass, and the bass is boosted as well. Nice, but is that the original mastering, or is that the smiley face equalizing that MoFi from time to time does? And I've seen them ruin records with it. Now, it doesn't necessarily ruin Thriller, but to get the high and the low on a higher level on this one does make it that when Michael Jackson's voice starts and the guitar starts, these do not sound bad. I mean, it's a good pressing. Let's be frank, it's a good pressing. It's an audiophile pressing. You get something, but they do not sound as spectacular as on the original Thriller. Now, what judgment can be made of this? I'll give my own private judgment on this behalf. I'm not sure. I wasn't there when this record was mastered, or when the final mix was done. But when Michael Jackson's voice and the guitar sound less impressive because the high and the low are boosted, I don't think Michael Jackson would have agreed on that. Then I tend to go towards what was the initial thought. And I don't know. I wasn't there. But I guess that this must have been the initial thought. Aren't they at MoFi, when they're doing these equalizings, even though you hear more in the high and in the low, aren't they messing with your artistic vision? My idea is yes, they do. You have another argument, because this was a big marketing product, and you don't want the needle to skip. You gotta get some high and some low out of there. And perhaps this comes closer to the original master. Who knows? I haven't listened to the original master. But when you have a fine mastering engineer like Bernie Grundman doing the job for you, getting the records towards the fans, then it's... And if you consider mastering the final step in the process, then I think that this might be the ultimate version. And then this might be slightly messing with the artistic version. I find it a tough competition, because I do love things I hear here, but I also love listening to Michael Jackson's voice and guitar being represented stronger. So I think it's a matter of choice. And in this regard, I think the artistic integrity lies a little bit more at the original thriller. So, my guess is the thriller, though an interesting audiophile pressing, and I'm happy to have it in my collection, so I'm not blaming MoFi, but this might be quite the problematic release for MoFi on more levels. So, my guess is what is MoFi's opinion on mastering and the artistic integrity of the original press or the original mastering? I'd like to leave it at that question. What do you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave a comment below and let's start a discussion because I think it's an interesting topic. See ya. Bye.